Emma had always believed her marriage was built on trust. For 7 years, she and Ryan had lived what most people would call a happy life. They met during their final year of college when Emma accidentally spilled coffee on Ryan's laptop at a crowded campus cafe. Instead of getting angry, Ryan laughed and joked that it was the universe forcing him to finally talk to her. That moment turned into a conversation, the conversation turned into a date, and the date eventually turned into a relationship that seemed unbreakable. Ryan was charming, ambitious, and full of confidence. Emma was thoughtful, creative, and patient. Their personalities balanced each other perfectly. After graduating, Ryan built a successful career in marketing, while Emma became a freelance graphic designer, working mostly from home. They bought a cozy house in a quiet neighborhood and filled it with small routines that made life feel comfortable. Morning coffee together, weekend grocery trips, movie nights on Fridays, and every Sunday, dinner with close friends. One of those friends was Lisa. Lisa had entered Emma's life 5 years earlier when they met at a mutual friends gathering. She was bold, funny, and always the loudest person in the room. Emma admired how confident Lisa was. Before long, Lisa became Emma's closest friend. They shared everything: work stress, relationship advice, late-night phone calls, and endless laughter. Lisa was also close with Ryan. At first, Emma loved that. It made gatherings easy and fun. Ryan and Lisa joked constantly, teasing each other like siblings. Emma often laughed at their banter. But lately, things had started to change. It began with Ryan coming home late. At first, Emma didn't question it. "Big campaign at work," Ryan explained one evening while loosening his tie. Emma nodded understandingly. Ryan's company had recently taken on several major clients, so late nights weren't unusual. But the late nights kept happening. 3 times a week. Then 4. Eventually almost every night. Ryan would come home exhausted, barely touching his dinner before heading straight to bed. Emma tried to stay supportive, but the distance between them was becoming noticeable. Conversations that once lasted hours now ended in minutes. Ryan used to tell Emma everything about his day. Now he simply said, "Work was crazy," and left it at that. Emma told herself she was overthinking. Relationships went through stressful phases. Still, there were other changes she couldn't ignore. Ryan had started guarding his phone. Before, he left it lying around the house without a second thought. Now he carried it everywhere, even to the kitchen when he grabbed a glass of water. If Emma walked into the room while he was texting, the screen would quickly turn black. One evening Emma noticed it clearly. Ryan was sitting on the couch, smiling at his phone. When Emma sat beside him, he instantly locked it and put it face down. "Who are you texting?" Emma asked casually. "Just work stuff," Ryan replied quickly. Emma forced a smile, but something inside her felt uneasy. Ryan had never hidden work messages before. Days turned into weeks. The feeling in Emma's chest slowly grew heavier. One afternoon, everything changed. Ryan had rushed home between meetings to take a quick shower. He tossed his phone onto the coffee table before heading upstairs. Emma was sitting on the couch reading a book. The house was quiet. Then Ryan's phone buzzed. Emma glanced at it without thinking. The screen lit up with a message notification. "Lisa, last night was amazing, Redheart." Emma froze. Her eyes locked onto the glowing screen. Her brain struggled to process what she had just read. Lisa? Her best friend? Another notification appeared seconds later. "Lisa, I can't stop thinking about you." Emma's heartbeat suddenly felt loud in her ears. Her first instinct was denial. Maybe it was a misunderstanding. Maybe Lisa meant something innocent. But deep down, Emma already knew. Her hands trembled as she picked up the phone. She hesitated. Looking through Ryan's messages felt wrong. But the pit in her stomach told her something was very wrong. Ryan had never changed his phone password. It was still Emma's birthday. Slowly, she unlocked the screen. The message thread opened instantly. And in that moment, Emma's world shattered. Dozens of messages filled the screen. Flirtatious jokes. Heart emojis. Photos. Plans to meet at hotels. Late-night conversations filled with affection and secrets. Emma scrolled further. Her breathing became shallow. The affair hadn't just started recently. It had been going on for months. Months of lies. Months of betrayal. While Emma had been planning dinners and talking to Lisa about life. While Ryan had kissed her goodbye every morning. Her husband and her best friend had been sneaking around behind her back. Emma felt like the room was spinning. Tears filled her eyes, blurring the screen. For a moment, she thought she might collapse. But instead of crying loudly, something strange happened. A cold calm settled over her. The kind of calm that appears when shock is too deep for immediate emotion. Footsteps suddenly echoed from upstairs. Ryan. Emma quickly locked the phone and placed it exactly where it had been. She grabbed her book again just as Ryan walked back into the room. "Hey," he said casually while grabbing his phone. Emma looked up. "Hey." Ryan checked the screen briefly, then slipped the phone into his pocket. "I've got to head back to the office." Emma forced a smile. "Okay." Ryan leaned down and kissed her forehead. "See you tonight." Emma nodded. But inside, everything had changed. When the front door closed behind him, the silence in the house felt overwhelming. Emma slowly put her book down. Her hands started shaking uncontrollably. The tears finally came. She cried harder than she ever had before. Not just from heartbreak, but from betrayal. The two people she trusted most in the world had been lying to her. After nearly an hour, the tears stopped. Emma wiped her face and stared at the wall. Her heart still ached, but the shock had begun turning into something else. Clarity. Ryan and Lisa believed their secret was safe. They believed Emma was clueless, naive, trusting. Emma stood up slowly. If they thought they were getting away with it, she would let them keep thinking that. For now. Emma walked into Ryan's home office and opened his tablet. Just as she suspected, his messages were synced there. The same conversation with Lisa appeared instantly. Emma began taking screenshots. Every message. Every photo. Every plan. Then she checked Ryan's shared email account. Within minutes, she found hotel reservations and dinner bookings, all with Lisa. Emma saved everything into a private folder on her laptop. Evidence. Proof. By the time she finished, she had collected dozens of screenshots. Emma leaned back in her chair. Her heartbreak was still raw, but now a quiet plan was forming in her mind. Lisa loved attention, especially on her birthday. And Lisa's birthday was coming up in 2 weeks. She had already been planning a big dinner celebration with friends and family. Emma even remembered helping her choose the restaurant. The memory made Emma's jaw tighten. Perfect. Emma closed the laptop slowly. Ryan and Lisa thought they were hiding their secret well. But soon, everyone would know the truth. And Emma would make sure of it. The next morning felt strangely normal. Emma woke up before Ryan, just like she always did. She stood in the kitchen making coffee, while sunlight slowly filled the room. Everything looked exactly the same as it had the day before. But Emma knew nothing was the same anymore. She heard Ryan's footsteps coming downstairs. "Morning," he said with a tired smile. "Morning," Emma replied calmly. Ryan poured himself a cup of coffee and sat at the table. For a moment, Emma studied him carefully. The man sitting in front of her looked exactly like the husband she had loved for years. But now she knew the truth. The lies. The secret messages. The hotel rooms. Ryan glanced at his phone and typed a quick reply to someone. Emma didn't need to ask who it was. Lisa. The thought stung, but Emma forced herself to stay composed. "You're working late again tonight?" she asked casually. Ryan sighed dramatically. "Yeah. Another meeting with the new client." Emma nodded. Inside, she almost laughed. The lies came so easily to him now. After breakfast, Ryan grabbed his briefcase and kissed Emma on the cheek before leaving. "Love you," he said. Emma watched him walk out the door. "Love you too," she replied softly. But the words felt empty. The moment the door closed, Emma's calm expression disappeared. She walked straight to her laptop. The folder she had created the night before was still there. Dozens of screenshots filled the screen. Every message between Ryan and Lisa. Every photo. Every reservation. Emma opened the conversation thread again and carefully read through it. This time she wasn't shocked. Now she was analyzing. She noticed patterns. They often met on Thursday nights. Sometimes on weekends when Emma believed Lisa was busy with work. They even joked in the messages about how trusting Emma was. That line hurt the most. Ryan. Emma never suspects anything. Lisa. She's too sweet to imagine something like this. Emma felt anger rise in her chest. But instead of letting it explode, she used it to focus. If they thought she was too sweet to notice, Emma would prove them wrong. She spent the next few days quietly gathering more evidence. Ryan's tablet continued syncing their messages, giving Emma access to everything. She saved new screenshots every day. Photos. Voice messages. Plans for future meetings. The deeper she looked, the more shocking the truth became. This wasn't a short affair. Ryan and Lisa had been involved for nearly 6 months. 6 months of secret dinners. 6 months of stolen nights. 6 months of betrayal. One evening, Lisa called Emma. "Hey," Lisa said cheerfully. "Are we still on for lunch tomorrow?" Emma paused for a moment. Hearing Lisa's voice felt strange now. This was the same woman who had comforted Emma during stressful days. The same woman who had laughed with her over coffee countless times. And yet, she had been secretly meeting Ryan behind her back. "Yes," Emma said calmly. "Of course." "Perfect," Lisa replied excitedly. "I've missed you." Emma forced a small smile even though Lisa couldn't see it. "Me too." The next day, they met at a small cafe downtown. Lisa walked in wearing a bright smile and hugged Emma tightly. "God, it's been forever," she said. Emma hugged her back. The betrayal felt even heavier up close. They sat down and ordered coffee. Lisa talked nonstop about work, gossip, and random stories. Emma listened carefully. It amazed her how natural Lisa acted. As if nothing was wrong. As if she hadn't been secretly sleeping with Emma's husband for months. At one point, Lisa casually mentioned her birthday party. "Oh, I almost forgot to tell you," she said excitedly. "I'm planning a big birthday dinner next week." Emma nodded. "I remember you mentioning it." "Yeah. I reserved a private dining room at that Italian place on River Street. I want everyone there." Emma already knew the restaurant. Lisa had shown it to her weeks earlier. "You and Ryan are definitely coming," Lisa added with a grin. Emma met her eyes. "Of course." Lisa smiled happily. "I can't wait." Emma stirred her coffee slowly. Inside her mind, the plan was becoming clearer with every passing second. If Lisa wanted a big dinner, Emma would give her a very memorable one. Later that night, Ryan came home late again. Emma was sitting on the couch watching television. "Long day?" she asked. Ryan sighed. "You have no idea." Emma watched him carefully. "Lisa mentioned her birthday dinner." Ryan froze for the smallest moment before recovering. "Oh, right," he said quickly. "Yeah, she invited me too." Emma nodded slowly. "We should go." Ryan hesitated. "Yeah, sure." Emma could almost see the nervous calculation happening behind his eyes. He was probably wondering if it was safe, if Emma might notice something. But Emma simply smiled. "It'll be fun," she said. Ryan relaxed slightly. "Yeah," he said. "It will." But Emma already knew something Ryan didn't. That dinner would change everything. Over the next week, Emma prepared quietly. She organized the screenshots carefully. Printed copies. Dates highlighted. Photos included. She placed everything inside a simple white envelope. The envelope looked ordinary, but inside it contained enough proof to destroy their secret forever. Emma kept it hidden in her drawer. Each time she saw it, her heart beat faster. The night of Lisa's birthday dinner finally arrived. Ryan adjusted his jacket in the mirror. "You ready?" he asked. Emma picked up her purse. Inside it was the envelope. "I'm ready," she said calmly. The restaurant was already filled with laughter when they arrived. Friends and family sat around a long table in the private dining room. Lisa stood near the center, glowing with excitement. When she saw Emma and Ryan, she ran over and hugged them both. "You made it," she said happily. Emma smiled politely. "Happy birthday." Lisa looked radiant. But Emma noticed something else too. The nervous glance Lisa gave Ryan when she thought no one was watching. Emma felt a cold satisfaction. Soon, they wouldn't need to hide their glances anymore. Dinner went on like any other celebration. People laughed. Wine glasses clinked. Stories filled the room. Emma played her role perfectly. She smiled. She talked. She even laughed at jokes. Ryan looked relaxed. Lisa looked thrilled. Neither of them had any idea what was coming. Finally, the moment arrived when Lisa opened her gifts. Boxes and bags piled up in front of her. Perfume, jewelry, books. Everyone watched happily as she opened each one. Then Emma stood up. "I have one more gift," she said calmly. The room turned toward her. Emma reached into her purse and pulled out the small white envelope. Lisa smiled curiously. "What is it?" Emma handed it to her. "Something very special," she said. Lisa laughed lightly and opened the envelope. Inside were printed screenshots. For a moment, Lisa looked confused. Then her face turned pale. The smile disappeared instantly. Around the table, people leaned closer. The room slowly grew silent. Ryan's face drained of color. Emma stood quietly as the truth finally began revealing itself. And the dinner party that was supposed to celebrate Lisa's birthday was about to become something no one there would ever forget. Lisa stared at the papers in her hands as if they had suddenly turned into something dangerous. For a moment, the room remained quiet. Everyone around the table was still smiling, waiting for Lisa to react to what they assumed was just another birthday gift. But Lisa wasn't smiling anymore. Her face had gone completely pale. Her eyes moved quickly across the printed screenshots. Text messages, photos, hotel reservations. Every secret she thought was hidden. Emma watched silently. Across the table, Ryan looked confused at first. Then he noticed the color draining from Lisa's face. "What is it?" someone asked. Lisa's hand started shaking. She quickly tried to slide the papers back into the envelope. But it was too late. One of the sheets slipped from her fingers and landed on the table. The paper slid across the polished wood surface, right in front of one of the guests. A woman picked it up. At first she frowned, trying to understand what she was looking at. Then her eyes widened. The room began to fill with quiet murmurs. "What is this?" Ryan leaned forward slightly, his heart beginning to race. Emma could see the panic slowly growing on his face. Lisa tried to laugh nervously. "It's nothing," she said quickly. "Just some weird joke." But her voice sounded thin and strained. Emma finally spoke. "I wouldn't call it a joke," she said calmly. The entire table turned toward her. Emma stood up slowly from her chair. Her voice was steady. "I thought everyone here deserved to know the truth." Ryan's stomach dropped. "Emma," he said quietly, warning in his tone. But Emma ignored him. Lisa looked like she might faint. Another guest picked up one of the pages from the table. His eyes scanned the messages. Then he looked up in shock. "Wait, is this between Ryan and Lisa?" The murmurs grew louder. Someone else grabbed another page. "Oh my God!" Emma felt dozens of eyes turning toward her. Some filled with confusion. Some with shock. And some with sympathy. Ryan suddenly stood up. "Emma, stop this," he said sharply. But Emma looked directly at him. "No," she said quietly. Her calm voice somehow made the tension even heavier. Lisa was trembling now. "You're misunderstanding," she said desperately. Emma tilted her head slightly. "Am I?" She turned toward the guests. "Those messages show exactly what's been happening for the last 6 months." Silence fell over the room. Ryan's father, who had been sitting near the end of the table, frowned deeply. "Ryan, what is she talking about?" Ryan opened his mouth, but no words came out. Lisa suddenly stood up so fast her chair scraped loudly against the floor. "This is ridiculous," she snapped. Her voice had changed. The friendly birthday girl tone was gone. "This is a private matter," she continued nervously. Emma's lips curved into a small, bitter smile. "Private?" Emma repeated. She picked up one of the printed pages from the table. "Is this private?" She read aloud from the message. "Last night at the hotel was perfect. I wish we didn't have to hide this." The words hung heavily in the air. Someone gasped. Ryan's face turned red with anger. "Enough!" he shouted. Emma looked at him again. "For 6 months," she said calmly. Her voice was quiet, but every word landed like a hammer. "6 months you've been sleeping with my best friend." Lisa's eyes filled with tears. "It wasn't supposed to happen like this," she whispered. Emma stared at her. "Really?" The room had gone completely silent now. Forks rested untouched on plates. Wine glasses stood forgotten. Everyone watched the scene unfolding like something out of a movie. Ryan rubbed his face with both hands. "Emma, we can talk about this at home." Emma shook her head. "No." She looked around the table again. "For months, they've been meeting in secret hotels, lying to everyone here." She paused. "Especially me." Lisa's sister, sitting nearby, looked horrified. "Lisa, tell me this isn't true." Lisa couldn't answer. Her silence was enough. Ryan finally lost his patience. "This was none of your business to share with everyone," he snapped at Emma. The room reacted immediately. A few people muttered in disbelief. Emma's eyebrows lifted slightly. "None of their business?" she said softly. She stepped closer to Ryan. "You cheated on your wife with her best friend." Her voice grew sharper. "And you think the problem is that people know?" Ryan looked trapped. Lisa suddenly grabbed her purse. "I'm leaving," she said quickly. But before she could walk away, Emma spoke again. "Oh, Lisa, you might want to see the last page." Lisa froze. Slowly, she turned back. Emma picked up another sheet. "This one shows the hotel reservation from 3 nights ago." Lisa's face went white again. Ryan stared at the paper. He had forgotten about that one. One of the guests whispered, "3 nights ago?" Another person shook their head in disgust. "This is unbelievable." Ryan's mother suddenly stood up. Her voice trembled. "Ryan, tell me this isn't true." Ryan couldn't meet her eyes. That silence answered everything. Lisa finally lost control. "I'm not the only one to blame," she shouted. Everyone turned toward her. Her eyes flashed angrily toward Ryan. "He came to me first." Ryan looked stunned. "That's not true," he argued. Lisa laughed bitterly. "Oh, really? You were the one complaining about your boring marriage." The words sliced through the room. Emma felt the sting, but she kept her composure. Guests looked between them in shock as the two lovers began turning on each other. "You said Emma would never find out," Lisa accused. Ryan snapped back. "You were the one pushing for all those hotel nights." Their argument grew louder, more desperate, more humiliating. Emma watched quietly. This was exactly what she had expected. Secrets always collapse under pressure. Finally, Emma picked up her purse. "I think I've said enough," she said calmly. Everyone turned toward her again. Ryan looked desperate now. "Emma, wait!" But Emma shook her head. "No." She looked directly at him. "You made your choices." Then she looked at Lisa. "And so did you." Emma walked toward the door. Behind her, the room erupted into chaos. Voices arguing. People questioning. Ryan trying to chase after her. But Emma didn't stop walking. For the first time in months, she felt strangely free. Emma stepped out of the restaurant into the cool night air. For the first time in weeks, she felt like she could finally breathe. The noise of the restaurant door closing behind her sounded distant, almost unreal. Inside, chaos was still unfolding, voices arguing, chairs moving, people whispering in shock. But Emma kept walking. The street was quiet compared to the storm she had just left behind. She walked slowly down the sidewalk, her heels clicking softly against the pavement. The city lights reflected off the wet road from an earlier rain. Her heart was still racing, but something inside her had shifted. For months she had been living in a lie. Tonight, she had finally ended it. Suddenly, she heard the restaurant door burst open behind her. "Emma! Wait!" "Ryan." Emma closed her eyes briefly before turning around. Ryan jogged toward her, looking completely different from the confident man everyone knew. His hair was messy, his face was pale, and his expression was full of panic. "Emma, please," he said, slightly out of breath. "Just talk to me." Emma crossed her arms. "What is there to talk about?" Ryan ran a hand through his hair. "You didn't have to do that in front of everyone." Emma stared at him in disbelief. "That's what you're upset about?" she asked quietly. Ryan hesitated. "I mean, you embarrassed us." Emma let out a small laugh. It wasn't a happy laugh. It was the kind of laugh someone makes when they realize how ridiculous something is. "Embarrassed you?" she repeated. Ryan looked uncomfortable. Emma stepped closer to him. "For 6 months you were sleeping with my best friend," she said calmly. Her voice was quiet, but every word was sharp. "And you're worried about being embarrassed?" Ryan sighed heavily. "Emma, it wasn't supposed to go this far." Emma shook her head. "That's the problem, Ryan. It already did." Ryan looked desperate now. "I made a mistake." Emma's eyes narrowed. "A mistake?" she said. "A mistake is forgetting an anniversary." She paused. 6 months of lying is not a mistake." Ryan looked down at the ground. For the first time since Emma had known him, he seemed completely unsure of himself. "Lisa meant nothing," he said quickly. Emma raised an eyebrow. "Really?" Ryan nodded. "It was just something stupid that happened." Emma studied his face carefully. Then she asked a simple question. "Do you love her?" Ryan hesitated. The silence between them felt heavy. Emma didn't even need his answer. She sighed quietly. "See?" she said. "You can't even answer that." Ryan looked frustrated. Emma, please. We can fix this. Emma's expression softened slightly, but not in the way Ryan hoped. It softened with sadness. Ryan, she said gently, you didn't just cheat on me. She looked back toward the restaurant. You cheated on me with someone who sat at our dinner table. Someone who pretended to be my friend. Ryan didn't respond. He couldn't. Emma continued walking again. Ryan followed. Where are you going? He asked nervously. Home. Ryan's voice became hopeful. Good, we can talk there. Emma stopped again and looked at him. You're not coming with me. Ryan blinked in confusion. What? Emma spoke calmly. When you get home tonight, pack a bag. Ryan's face tightened. You're kicking me out? Emma nodded slowly. Yes. Ryan looked stunned. You can't be serious. Emma met his eyes. I've never been more serious in my life. Ryan rubbed his temples, as if trying to process what was happening. This is crazy. Emma shrugged. No, she said quietly. What's crazy is believing you could lie to me for months and everything would stay the same. Ryan's frustration turned into anger. So that's it? He said sharply. 7 years and you're just throwing it away. Emma's expression hardened. You threw it away first. Ryan fell silent. A car passed by on the street, its headlights briefly lighting their faces. Emma suddenly felt tired. Not physically. Emotionally. 7 years of memories were crashing through her mind all at once. But she knew one thing clearly. There was no going back. I'll send you the divorce papers soon, she said calmly. Ryan looked like he had just been punched. Divorce? He repeated. Emma nodded. Yes. Ryan shook his head slowly. You're overreacting. Emma almost smiled at that. Overreacting? She stepped closer again. Ryan, I exposed your affair tonight with proof. She paused. Do you really think a marriage survives that? Ryan opened his mouth to argue, but no words came out. Because deep down, he knew she was right. Emma turned away again. Good night, Ryan. This time, she didn't stop walking. Ryan stood there on the sidewalk watching her leave. For the first time, he realized something terrifying. Emma wasn't bluffing. She was truly done. Meanwhile, back inside the restaurant, the disaster continued. Lisa sat frozen in her chair. Half the guests had already left. The celebration had turned into whispers, accusations, and uncomfortable silence. Lisa's sister stared at her with disbelief. How could you do this? She asked quietly. Lisa wiped tears from her face. It just happened. Her sister shook her head. No, Lisa. Affairs don't just happen for 6 months. Across the room, people were still discussing the shocking revelation. Some were angry. Others were simply stunned. Lisa felt the weight of every judgmental glance. Her birthday dinner had turned into a public humiliation. And Emma had walked away with her dignity intact. Lisa suddenly realized something terrifying too. Not only had she lost Emma as a friend, she had likely destroyed her reputation with everyone in that room. Later that night, Emma arrived home. The house felt quiet. But this time, the silence felt peaceful instead of painful. She placed her purse on the table and sat down on the couch. For a moment, she simply stared at the wall. Then she exhaled deeply. The hardest part was over. Soon Ryan would come home to pack his things. Soon the divorce process would begin. It wouldn't be easy. But Emma knew she had made the right decision. Because some betrayals break trust so deeply. They cannot be repaired. And Emma had finally chosen herself. The house felt different that night. Emma sat quietly on the couch, the soft glow of the living room lamp filling the space. Everything looked the same. The photos on the wall, the neatly arranged books, the small plant by the window. But emotionally, the house no longer felt like the home she once knew. It felt like a chapter that was closing. A few hours later, the front door slowly opened. Ryan stepped inside. He looked exhausted, as if the events of the night had drained every ounce of energy from him. Emma didn't move. Ryan noticed the suitcase sitting near the stairs. The sight of it made his shoulders drop. "So you meant it," he said quietly. Emma nodded. "Yes." Ryan walked into the living room slowly. The confident man he once was seemed completely gone. "I can't believe you did that tonight," he said, his voice tired. Emma looked at him calmly. "I can't believe you did what you did for 6 months." Ryan rubbed his face again. "I already told you. It was a mistake." Emma shook her head gently. "You keep calling it a mistake," she said. "But mistakes don't require secret hotel reservations." Ryan didn't respond. The silence stretched between them. Finally, Emma spoke again. "The guest room is upstairs," she said. Ryan looked confused. "You said I had to leave." "You are," Emma replied. "But it's late. Pack your things tonight. Leave in the morning." Ryan hesitated, then slowly nodded. Without another word, he walked upstairs. Emma listened to the sound of drawers opening and closing. 7 years of shared life was being packed into a suitcase. Surprisingly, Emma didn't cry. She felt sad, of course. But she also felt something stronger. Relief. For months, she had been living in a relationship built on lies. Now the truth had finally been exposed. And the truth, even when painful, was freeing. The next morning, Emma woke up early. Sunlight poured through the kitchen windows as she made coffee. A few minutes later, Ryan came downstairs with his suitcase. He looked like he hadn't slept at all. They stood in awkward silence for a moment. Then Ryan spoke. "So this is it?" Emma nodded. "Yes." Ryan looked around the kitchen. "So many memories here," he said quietly. Emma felt a small ache in her chest. There had been good memories. But good memories couldn't erase betrayal. Ryan picked up his suitcase. "Where am I supposed to go?" he asked. Emma shrugged slightly. "That's not my problem anymore." Ryan looked like he wanted to argue. But he didn't. Instead, he walked to the door. Before leaving, he turned back. "Emma, I did love you." Emma looked at him steadily. "Maybe you did once." Ryan opened the door slowly. Then he walked out of her life. The weeks that followed were not easy. Divorce papers were filed. Lawyers were involved. Friends and family learned the truth about what had happened. The story of the disastrous birthday dinner spread quickly through their social circle. Most people supported Emma. They admired how calmly and confidently she had handled everything. Ryan, on the other hand, found himself facing the consequences of his actions. His reputation suffered. Several friends distanced themselves from him. Even his own parents were disappointed. As for Lisa, things were even worse. Her birthday dinner had become the moment that exposed everything. People talked. People judged. Some friendships she had relied on for years disappeared almost overnight. And the relationship between Ryan and Lisa didn't survive the fallout either. Without secrecy and excitement, their connection quickly fell apart. Within a month, they had stopped seeing each other completely. Two people who had risked everything for an affair ended up losing everything instead. 3 months later, Emma sat in a small cafe near the park. Her laptop was open in front of her as she worked on a new design project. Life had slowly started moving forward again. The divorce had been finalized. The house was now entirely hers. She had repainted the bedroom, rearranged the furniture, and even replaced the old couch. Little by little, she was rebuilding her life. And most importantly, she was rediscovering herself. A friend approached her table. "Emma, Emma looked up and smiled. "Hey!" They hugged warmly. "You look good," her friend said. "Really good." Emma laughed softly. "I feel good." It was true. For the first time in a long while, Emma felt peaceful. Her friend leaned closer. "So, have you heard anything about Ryan or Lisa?" Emma shook her head. "No." "And you don't want to know?" Emma thought about it for a moment. Then she smiled. "Not really." Her friend nodded approvingly. "That's probably for the best." Emma closed her laptop and looked out the cafe window. The park outside was full of people enjoying the afternoon sun. Children were playing. Couples were walking. Life was moving forward. And so was she. Emma realized something important in that moment. The worst betrayal of her life had also taught her the most valuable lesson. Sometimes losing people who betray you is actually the beginning of finding yourself again. Emma picked up her coffee and took a slow sip. For the first time in a long time, the future didn't scare her. It excited her. Because this time,